Believe it or not, every word of this story is true. My name is Emily, I'm 33 years old, and I'm writing in my mansion in Atherton, worth $2.5 million, built from the ground up through my tech company. But when the doorbell rang, I froze. Through the security camera, I saw them, my family, who 11 years ago erased me from their lives. Their faces were a mix of envy and desperation as they stood at the gate. My heart pounded with memories, each one a sharp jab. How dare they show up here after all this time? I grew up in a quiet Portland suburb, in a house that looked like it belonged on a postcard. White picket fence, green lawn, and our golden retriever, Max, bounding around. My father, James, was a media manager, always on his phone, sealing deals. My mother, Linda, worked as a cashier at Walmart, her smile charming customers but rarely reaching me. I was the youngest of 3. My brother, Michael, 6.5 years older, was the family's golden boy, a football star with a grin that won everyone over. My sister, Rachel, 3 years older, was a gifted artist, her paintings hanging proudly in the living room, and the head of the school theatre club, always stealing the spotlight. Me? I was the afterthought, fading into the background of their brilliance. Family dinners were a ritual of praise for Michael's game-winning touchdowns, for Rachel's latest art award or standing ovation. My achievements, like winning a school science fair or acing a math contest, got a half-hearted nod. "That's what we expect, Emily," Mom would say, her eyes already back on Michael's highlights. When I tried painting, hoping to connect with Rachel, she'd laugh. "Stick to your books, Emily. You'll never have my eye for color." Dad never missed Michael's football games, cheering loud enough for the whole stadium to hear, but when I invited him to my science fair, he shrugged. "Work's crazy, kid. Maybe next time." There was never a next time. My heart would sink, but I'd swallow the hurt and try harder, thinking maybe one day they'd see me. The only person who truly saw me was Grandma Clara, my mom's mother. She lived an hour away and visited once a month. Those days were my lifeline. We baked cookies in the kitchen, the smell of vanilla and sugar filling the air, and she'd say, "Emily, you've got a spark. The world's gonna see it one day." Her voice was warm, her eyes bright with belief in me. She'd bring me books, science journals, novels, anything I wanted because she noticed how much I love reading. Unlike my parents, who called it antisocial, Clara saw it as my strength. She came to my school events, sitting front row, clapping louder than anyone. With her, I didn't have to fight for attention. Her love was a warm blanket in a house that felt cold. But even Clara's warmth couldn't shield me from the truth that was coming. Growing up, I felt the difference in how I was treated, but I couldn't name it. Michael's football trophies lined the shelves. Rachel's artwork covered the walls. My report cards, full of A's, were tucked away in a drawer. When I was 10, I spent weeks planning my birthday party, making invitations by hand, dreaming of cake and friends. The morning of, Mom announced, "Emily, plans changed. Michael's got a big game today. We'll reschedule your party." My stomach dropped. "But my friends are coming in 2 hours," I pleaded, my voice trembling. Dad cut in. "Don't be selfish, Emily. Family comes first." That phrase, "family comes first," became a bitter echo, never applying to me. I called my friends, choking back tears to cancel. Then I sat in the bleachers for 3 hours, watching Michael play while my parents cheered and Rachel chatted with her theater friends. No one mentioned my birthday. At home, there was no cake, just leftover pizza from Michael's victory celebration. I ate alone in my room, the silence louder than any party could have been. Rachel was the worst. She'd invite friends over and lock me out of the room, their laughter seeping through the door like a taunt. She'd borrow my things, books, clothes, and return them damaged, if at all. When I told our parents, she'd roll her eyes. "Emily's just being dramatic." They believed her every time. Michael wasn't cruel, just indifferent. He was too busy being the star to notice his little sister fading away. I learned early to keep my head down, to work harder, to hope that one day I'd be enough. But deep down, I felt like an outsider in my own home, a puzzle piece that didn't fit. I had no idea how right that feeling was or how much it would hurt when the truth came out. Every night, I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I wasn't enough. The weight of their indifference pressed on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Yet I kept pushing, clinging to the hope that I could earn their love. But that was just the beginning. By high school, I knew I was invisible at home. My straight A's were brushed off, my attempts at sports or theater ignored. I'd be more outgoing, like Rachel, Dad would say, barely looking up from his phone. I worked at the local library, saving every penny for college, dreaming of a life where I'd matter. When acceptance letters from Yale and Stanford arrived, my parents were stunned. Those schools are too expensive and far from Portland. The words cut deep, but they lit a fire in me. I was done begging for their approval. At 23, I graduated Stanford with honors in cybersecurity, landing a job at a San Francisco startup. I thought maybe, just maybe, success would make them see me. But then Grandma Clara, the only person who ever loved me, passed away. Her death hit like a tidal wave, leaving me drowning in grief. At her funeral, I sat alone in the pew, my hands trembling as I clutched a photo of us baking together. My parents, Michael and Rachel, huddled together, whispering, their eyes never meeting mine. No one asked if I was okay, even though they knew Clara was my everything. After the funeral, we gathered at my parents' house. The air was heavy, the living room dim with drawn curtains. Mom fidgeted with her coffee mug, avoiding my gaze. Dad stood by the window, his face tight. Rachel scrawled on her phone, smirking at something, while Michael stared at the floor. Emily, Mom started, her voice low, there's something we've been meaning to tell you. My stomach twisted. What? I asked, my throat dry. She hesitated, then blurted, you're not our biological daughter. Your mom was my college roommate, Sarah. She died in a car crash when you were 2. No one else stepped up, so we adopted you. The room spun. My heart pounded in my ears, each beat a hammer against my chest. Adopted? I whispered, barely audible. Dad snapped, you should be thankful we gave you a home, Emily. Most kids like you end up in foster care. Rachel chimed in, her voice dripping with disdain. It wasn't a big deal. Everyone in the family knew, just didn't think it was worth bringing up. Michael said nothing, his silence louder than their words. I felt like I'd been punched. My whole life, every ignored achievement, every forgotten birthday suddenly made sense. I wasn't their daughter, I was a charity case. So you lied to me for 23 years? I asked, my voice shaking with rage and hurt. Mom sighed. We were going to tell you when you were older, but the time never felt right. I laughed bitterly, tears stinging my eyes. It never felt right? My entire life was a lie. Dad stepped forward, his face red. Enough, Emily. If you can't appreciate what we've done, maybe you don't belong here. I looked at my so-called family, waiting for someone to stop me, to say it was a mistake. No one did. Rachel just shrugged. Michael wouldn't meet my eyes. I grabbed my purse, my hand shaking so hard I could barely hold it. Fine, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I am done. I walked out, the door slamming behind me, their silence echoing in my ears. That day, I vowed to never look back. They didn't invite me to Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any family gathering after that. Social media became a knife in my heart. Photos of their complete family at Michael's football banquets, Rachel's art exhibitions, holiday dinners, all without me. Rachel's captions were the worst. So blessed to have everyone I love here, as if I'd never existed. Dad sent cold emails asking me to respect their privacy, like I was a stranger harassing them. The final blow came when I saw photos of Michael's wedding, my parents beaming, and Rachel's baby shower, the joy plastered online. I should have been there, part of those moments, but I was erased, like a mistake they corrected. Each post was a reminder I wasn't their family. I was nothing to them. With $10,000 saved from my library job and Clara's ruby ring, I moved to San Francisco. The money wasn't much in a city that chewed up bank accounts, but it was mine. I rented a cramped room in a shared apartment with two strangers, Lisa, a barrister, and Clara, a grad student. The place was tiny, with peeling paint and a leaky faucet, but it was a fresh start. I worked as a tech support specialist at a small software company, answering calls from frustrated users. My days a blur of have you tried restarting? The pay barely covered rent, and cheap groceries, ramen, and peanut butter sandwiches became my diet. At night, I'd huddle over my laptop in my tiny room, teaching myself coding and cybersecurity protocols. I took free online courses, built small projects, and joined coding forums, determined to claw my way out of the hole my family had left me in. Sleep was a luxury, every hour was a step toward freedom. I lived frugally, walking to work to save on bus fare, cutting my own hair, shopping at thrift stores. Every dollar saved was a shield against depending on a family that rejected me. The loneliness was crushing, though. I'd lie awake, Clara's ring on my finger, her words echoing, "You're special." It was all I had to keep me going. 6 months in, I attended a free cybersecurity workshop at the public library. The speaker, Professor Anna, a Berkeley expert, captivated me with her talk on digital vulnerabilities. I stayed late, asking her about encryption methods. She raised an eyebrow, impressed. "That's a sharp question, Emily," she said, her voice kind. "You working in the field?" I told her about my job and studies, leaving out the family drama. Her eyes softened like she saw something in me. "I'm hosting a hackathon next month," she said. "You should join." That hackathon was a turning point. I teamed up with strangers, and we found a critical bug in a banking app. Our solution won third place, but more importantly, it caught the eye of industry pros. Professor Anna became my mentor, inviting me to events and sharing resources. "You think differently, Emily," she told me once, after I pitched a new approach to data security. "That's your strength." I started developing a concept for behavioral authentication using user patterns instead of passwords. It was ambitious, but I had nothing to lose. The idea consumed me, my nights filled with code and coffee, my days fueled by the need to prove I was more than my family's reject. But the real challenge was yet to come. I poured everything into my behavioral authentication idea, working nights in my cramped San Francisco apartment, the home of my old laptop, my only company. Professor Anna, my mentor, kept pushing me. "This could change cybersecurity," she'd say over coffee, her eyes bright with belief. I trusted her, which wasn't easy after my family's betrayal. My roommates, Lisa and Clara, were kind but busy, leaving me alone with my code and Clara's ruby ring, its weight a reminder of her words, "You're special." I was determined to prove her right, to build a life where I wasn't invisible. The hackathon win opened doors. Anna introduced me to industry contacts, but pitching my idea was brutal. Investors liked the concept, but not me. "Interesting, but you're unproven," one said, barely glancing at my business plan. "Come back with a prototype." 27 rejections later, I was still at it, refining my pitch, coding until my eyes burned. To make ends meet, I kept my tech support job and picked up weekend bartending shifts at a trendy spot where tech bros networked over overpriced cocktails. The irony wasn't lost on me, serving drinks to the kind of people I wanted to become. But it paid the bills, and I've heard snippets about the industry that sharpened my ideas. One night, a regular named Tom tipped generously after we chatted about digital privacy. He came back, asking sharper questions about my work. After a month, he admitted he was an angel investor. "I've been testing you, Emily," he said, leaning across the bar. "You're not just talk, show me your plan." I sent it heart racing. 2 weeks later, he invested $200,000 to build my prototype. I quit tech support, rented a tiny office, a closet, really, with flickering lights and a wobbly desk and oven. 18-hour days became my norm. Code failed, bugs multiplied, and doubt crept in. Some nights, I'd hold Clara's ring, tears falling, wondering if I was chasing a pipe dream. But every morning, I got back to work, driven by the need to prove my family wrong. 8 months later, I had a working prototype. It wasn't perfect, but it showed promise. Tom arranged a demo for bigger investors. I stood in a sleek conference room, my hands sweaty, explaining how my system tracked user behavior to secure data. "This is innovative," one investor said, scribbling notes. They offered funding enough to hire 3 engineers and move to a real office. I named the company Safeguard, a nod to the protection I never had growing up. We grew fast, signing contracts with mid-sized firms. Tech blogs called our approach groundbreaking. My team expanded to 15, then 30. I handpicked every hire, valuing passion as much as skill. I built a culture where no one felt ignored, where birthdays were celebrated, achievements cheered the family, unlike the one I'd lost. But success didn't erase the emptiness. I moved to a sleek condo overlooking the bay, traded thrift store clothes for tailored suits, bought a Tesla. Yet every night I came home to silence, the city lights outside my window cold and distant. Clara's ring stayed on my finger, a bittersweet anchor. I was proving my worth, but to who? Family that rejected me didn't care. Or so I thought. 3 years after founding Safeguard, we landed a game-changing contract, $200 million to secure a network for international banks. The office erupted, champagne popped, my team cheered, and I announced bonuses for everyone. I should have been on top of the world. But that evening, the doorbell of my Atherton mansion rang. Through the security feed, I saw them: James, Linda, Michael, Rachel standing at my gate, their faces a mix of fake smiles and desperation. My stomach churned. After 11 years of silence, why now? I let them in, my hands shaking as I opened the door. The marble foyer echoed their footsteps, their eyes wide at the chandelier, the art on the walls. Dad spoke first, his voice overly warm. "Emily, look at this place. We always knew you'd do big things." Rachel nodded, her smile tight. "We're family, Em. We should reconnect." Michael just stood there, avoiding my gaze. Mom clutched her purse, saying nothing. Their words felt like a bad script, rehearsed and hollow. I poured coffee, my mind racing. "Why are you here?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Dad cleared his throat. "We hit a rough patch. The media company tanked. We thought maybe you could help out." Rachel jumped in. "You've done so well, Emily. We're proud. Let's put the past behind us." Proud? The word burned. They hadn't called in 11 years, hadn't cared when I was struggling. Now, with my success plastered in tech news, they were here, hands out. I wanted to scream, but I stayed calm. "I'll think about it," I said, buying time. They left, promising to catch up soon. I watched them drive away, my heart a tangle of anger and hurt. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something felt off. I dug into their sudden return, calling a private investigator I'd hired for corporate security. What he found floored me. My family's business hadn't just failed, it was sabotaged. Someone had leaked the client data, tanking their reputation. Worse, the investigator found emails linking Rachel to a shady tech consultant, Ethan, who claimed to know me. I'd never heard of him, but his name kept popping up in my company's server logs. Someone was probing Safeguard systems, and the IP traced back to a Portland address tied to my family. My blood ran cold. Were they trying to ruin me, too? Then came the real shock. The investigator uncovered a hidden family secret. Sarah, my biological mother, had another child before me, a half-brother I never knew existed. His name was Daniel, and he'd been adopted by another family. But records showed he'd reconnected with James and Linda years ago, kept secret from me. Was he Ethan? Was he behind the sabotage? My head spun. The family that erased me wasn't just back for money, they were hiding something bigger, something that could threaten everything I'd built. What would you do in my place? Trust them or dig deeper? But the truth was about to get darker. The revelation about Daniel, my secret half-brother, hit me like a freight train. I sat in my Atherton mansion, the glow of my laptop casting shadows on the walls as I reread the investigator's report. My biological mother, Sarah, had a son before me, adopted out to strangers. My parents, James and Linda, knew about him, even reconnected with him, but never told me. Was Daniel the same person as Ethan, the tech consultant tied to Rachel? And were they all behind the cyber probes targeting Safeguard? My heart raced, a mix of betrayal and fear. I'd built my company to escape my family's rejection, but now they were back, not just for money, but maybe to destroy me. I called my investigator, Mark, the next morning. To dig deeper into Daniel, I said, my voice tight. Find out if he's Ethan, where he is, and what he wants. Mark's voice was steady over the phone. This could get messy, Emily. If your family's involved in sabotage, they're playing a dangerous game. I hung up, my hand shaking. I looked at Clara's ruby ring on my finger, its red glint a reminder of the only person who ever believed in me. I wasn't going to let them take me down. Safeguard was my life. Our behavioral authentication system had revolutionized cybersecurity, landing us contracts with Fortune 500 companies and that massive $200 million deal with international banks. My team, now over 50 strong, felt like the family I never had. We celebrated every milestone, from product launches to birthdays, in our sleek San Francisco office with its glass walls and bay views. I made sure no one felt invisible the way I had growing up. But now, with my family's sudden reappearance and these cyber attacks, I felt the storm brewing. I tightened security, hiring extra analysts to monitor our systems. Every login attempt, every ping, was scrutinized. I wasn't sleeping much, my nights spent poring over server logs, looking for clues. Mark called back a week later. Got something, he said. Daniel's real. He's 36, lives in Seattle, works as a freelance coder, goes by Ethan Daniels online. He's been in touch with your sister Rachel for years, and there's evidence he's been digging into Safeguard's patents. My stomach dropped. Why? I asked. Mark hesitated. Looks like money. Your parents' media business crashed after a data leak, clients bailed, lawsuits piled up. Rachel's been emailing Ethan about leveraging your success. And get this, Ethan's been spotted in Portland, meeting your dad. I felt sick. My family wasn't just after a handout, they were plotting something bigger, maybe selling my tech to competitors or worse. I confronted Rachel over the phone. What's Ethan to you? I demanded, my voice sharp. She laughed, but it was nervous. Who? Oh, some tech guy. Why do you care? Her tone was too casual, like she was hiding something. Don't play dumb, Rachel, I snapped. I know about Daniel, my half-brother. Why didn't you tell me? Silence stretched on the line. Finally, she said, you're paranoid, Emily. We just want to reconnect. But her voice cracked, betraying her. I hung up, my mind racing. If Ethan Daniel was my half-brother, why was he working with them against me? And what did they really want? I doubled down at work, paranoid every time an email pinged or a server lagged. My team noticed my tension. You okay, Emily? asked Sarah, my lead engineer, over coffee in the break room. Her concern was genuine, but I brushed it off. Just stress, I lied, forcing a smile. I couldn't tell them my family might be orchestrating a cyber attack, but the evidence was mounting. Our servers logged repeated breach attempts, all tracing to IP addresses linked to Portland and Seattle. One night, a critical file blueprints for our next product disappeared from our secure drive. My heart sank. Someone had inside access. I suspected Ethan, but how? He'd never worked for us. Then came a bombshell. Mark sent me a photo, Ethan, Rachel, and a man who looked like Dad, meeting at a Portland cafe. But there was someone else, a woman I didn't recognize, maybe in her 40s, with sharp eyes and a briefcase. Mark's note read, "She's Laura Klein, ex-employee of a rival cybersecurity firm, fired for ethics violations. She's been consulting with Ethan." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a family betrayal, it was corporate espionage. Laura's firm had bid against us on the bank contract and lost. Were they using my family to steal my tech? And was Daniel, my own half-brother, the mastermind? I invited my family back to the mansion, playing along to get answers. They arrived, all smiles, but the air was thick with tension. Dad admired the view. "You've done well, Emily." Rachel chimed in, "We're here to support you." Michael, as usual, said nothing, his eyes on his phone. Mom fidgeted, her hands twisting her scarf. I poured wine, keeping my voice calm. "I know about the business collapse," I said. "And I know you've been talking to Ethan Daniels." Their faces froze. Rachel recovered first, laughing. "You're digging into us. That's low, even for you." Dad's eyes narrowed. "We're just trying to rebuild, Emily. Don't make this something it's not." But their defensiveness confirmed my suspicions. I pushed harder. "Ethan's my half-brother, isn't he? Sarah's son. Why hide him?" Mom's face paled. "We didn't want to complicate things," she stammered. "He found us years ago, but you were difficult." Difficult? I wanted to scream. I'd been their daughter for 23 years, and they kept a sibling from me. Rachel snapped, "You're obsessed with the past, Emily. Let it go." But I couldn't. The next day, Mark found proof Ethan had hacked a backdoor into our system, using credentials stolen from a junior employee Rachel had befriended online. My family wasn't just after money, they were helping Ethan and Laura Sabotage Safeguard to sell our tech to rivals. I felt betrayed all over again, the wound as raw as the day I learned I was adopted. My company, my sanctuary, was under attack by the people who'd already discarded me. I sat in my office, the city skyline glittering outside, and held Clara's ring, its warmth grounding me. I wasn't that invisible girl anymore. I had power now, and I'd use it to protect what I'd built. But how far was I willing to go? Did I expose my family, knowing it might destroy them? Or was there a way to outsmart them without losing myself? But the storm was about to break. I was done playing nice. My family's betrayal, hiding my half-brother Daniel, alias Ethan, and colluding with him and Laura Klein to sabotage Safeguard, cut deeper than their rejection 11 years ago. Sitting in my Atherton mansion, the city lights twinkling beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, I gripped Clara's ruby ring, its familiar weight grounding me. My company was my sanctuary, built to escape the family that never wanted me. Now they threatened everything. I wasn't that scared little girl anymore. I had to act. I called Mark, my investigator, and laid out a plan. "We need proof of Ethan's hacks and Laura's involvement," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "And I want to know what my family is getting out of this." Mark didn't sugarcoat it. "If we dig deeper, Emily, this could end with legal action. You sure?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Do it." My team at Safeguard was already on high alert, tracing every cyber attack. We found the backdoor where Ethan used a stolen credential from a junior engineer, Amy, who'd been tricked by Rachel's fake online friendship. My sister's betrayal stung like a fresh wound. I warned Amy, who was mortified, and we sealed the breach. But the damage was done. Blueprints for our next product were compromised, and our bank contract was at risk. Mark's next report was a bombshell. Laura Klein, a disgraced ex-employee from our rival firm, had promised my family a cut of the profits if they helped us sell safeguards tech to a competitor. Ethan, my half-brother, was the tech muscle hacking our systems while Rachel fed him intel. Dad and Mom were in on it, hoping to rebuild their failed media business. Michael, as usual, played passive, but he knew. The worst part? Ethan wasn't just after money, he wanted revenge. Mark found old emails where Ethan raged about being abandoned by Sarah, our biological mother, and blamed me for stealing the family he never had. He'd reconnected with James and Linda years ago, but they kept him secret, using his anger to fuel the scheme. My family wasn't just greedy, they were weaponizing my own brother against me. I felt sick, my heart torn between rage and grief. How could they do this? I'd been their daughter, their sister, for 23 years, adopted or not. Yet they chose a stranger, my half-brother, over me. I sat in my office, the hum of servers a faint comfort, and stared at Clara's ring. "You're special," she'd said. I had to believe that or I'd crumble. I called a meeting with my legal team and Sarah, my lead engineer. "We're going on the offensive," I told them. "We're exposing this, but we do it smart." Sarah's eyes widened, but she nodded. "Whatever it takes, Emily." I invited my family back to the mansion, setting a trap. They arrived, all fake smiles, expecting me to cave. The marble foyer gleamed under the chandelier, their footsteps echoing as they gawked at the luxury. "Dad started, Emily, we've been thinking, let's work together to fix our business." Rachel added, "Your family, we can share this success." Michael stayed quiet, his eyes darting nervously. Mom twisted her scarf, mumbling agreement. I poured wine, keeping my face neutral. "I know about Ethan," I said calmly. "And Laura Klein, and the hacks." Their faces froze. Rachel laughed, too loud. "You're paranoid, Em." Dad's voice hardened. "Don't accuse us of nonsense." I didn't blink. "I have proof. Emails, server logs, recordings." I nodded to Mark, who stepped from the study with my lawyer, Clara. She laid out documents on the dining table, screenshots of Ethan's hacks, Rachel's messages, Laura's contracts. "You've been aiding corporate espionage," Claire said, her voice ice cold. "That's a felony." Mom gasped, her hand shaking. Dad sputtered, "This is a misunderstanding." Rachel glared at me. "You'd turn on your own family?" I laughed, bitter. "Family? You erased me 11 years ago. You hid my own brother from me, and now you're stealing from me." Michael finally spoke, his voice low. "We didn't mean for it to go this far." "Too little, too late." I turned to Claire. "Show them the deal." She handed them papers outlining my decision. I was donating $1 million to a charity for foster kids, in Clara's name. "This is what family means," I said, my voice steady. "Not betrayal, not sabotage." Rachel's face twisted. "You're throwing away our future for strangers." I met her eyes. "You threw away mine first." Claire added, "We've reported Laura and Ethan to the authorities. If you cooperate, you might avoid charges." Dad's face went white. Mom started crying. Michael looked like he wanted to disappear. Rachel tried to argue, but Claire cut her off. "We have recordings of your calls with Ethan. It's over." They left without a word, their footsteps heavy on the marble floor. I stood at the window, watching their car vanish into the night, Clara's ring warm in my hand. Relief washed over me, but it was bittersweet. I'd won, but at what cost? My family was gone for good, and my half-brother, Daniel, was the stranger who hated me. The next week, Laura and Ethan were arrested for cybercrimes. My family wasn't charged, they'd been small players, manipulated by Laura's promises. Safeguard recovered, our reputation stronger after exposing the plot. The bank contract went through, and we launched our new product to rave reviews. But as I sat in my condo, the bay sparkling outside, I felt hollow. I'd built an empire, a team that felt like family, yet I was alone. Clara's words echoed. the world will see it. They had. My tech was saving companies, protecting people. But the little girl who just wanted her family's love, she was still inside me, aching. I wondered about Daniel. Did he hate me because of lies my parents told? Could I ever reach out, or was that door closed forever? I didn't know. Maybe I'd never know. I kept moving forward, leading safeguard, celebrating my team's wins, wearing Clara's ring like armor. I had proven my worth, not to my family, but to myself. Still, I wonder sometimes, did I do the right thing, cutting them off completely? If you were in my shoes, would you have given them another chance, or stood your ground like I did? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more stories. Check out the next video, it'll grab you just as much.